Ravens, crows, and rooks are all part of the corvid family or the crow family, and they are known to be as one of the most intelligent birds out there. They are widespread in Ukraine. There are many of them around, and much more so than in other countries, especially North America, United States. They're smart, mischievous birds, and this country is full of them, and we're going to try to find out why there are so many of them and how come they seem to thrive in this environment. Really, no matter where you go, any city, any town, any village in Ukraine, you're going to see lots of crows, ravens, not necessarily with each other, but they're mostly fighting amongst themselves and the pigeons for food. They tend to stick to a specific territory. So for example, if they're in like a certain neighborhood, they know where all the dumpsters are, where all the food is, and they're going to stick to that territory. And if somebody else comes onto their territory, they're going to try to kick them out. Another thing about the crow family is that they're incredibly smart. They exhibit learned behavior. So basically they can learn from other crows. Obviously crows are not smart enough to learn over generations. See something and then they signal to each other, and then other crows learn many different things about a certain event. I personally saw crows flying overhead and they're dropping things, like dropping walnuts, dropping, I don't know, pine cones, or dropping something. And I'm thinking like somebody's thrown something from upstairs, from above me. But no, it's just a crow will drop something off. We'll wait until it breaks and then come and peck at it. Or they will drop walnuts on the road and wait until a car drives by. Again, this is a learned behavior that they've seen other crows do and they're trying to replicate it. In other situations, crows use tools to get at their food. Another psychological trait that they exhibit is that they behave strangely towards their dead. There was an experiment in Washington University where a masked individual was carrying a crow in their hands, and crows have recognized that mask, that person, and they've warned other crows not to come near to that person. And that means that they associate that person or that individual with danger, and they will signal to other crows, and most importantly, they will recognize that person months and months and months in the future. So this is really interesting, and it makes you wonder, how come we don't pay more attention to them, especially here in Ukraine. Ravens also live amongst other species here. They live amongst hedgehogs, cats, they live among pigeons for the most part. Pigeons are mostly the ones that they compete with against food. Yeah, it's really interesting to watch how pigeons behave around food and how ravens behave around food. It's quite an interesting sight. The period of fall and spring are a time when they're going to migrate a lot, so you see lots of flocks. In the morning especially, you see lots of ravens making sound or crowing all over the place, and that is really annoying to many people. But for the most part, they show a lot of activity during those times of the year. Basically, the way it works is that every raven that ends up here in this cage, it sort of has a sad story behind it, because it's either a baby raven that was found somewhere in a forest, or an injured raven that was brought here by somebody. Basically, there were birds that probably wouldn't be able to survive in the wild. And even if these birds were released from this cage here, they probably wouldn't be able to survive. They probably wouldn't know how to scavenge for food. They wouldn't know how to look for food. They wouldn't know how to do any of that. There's no guarantee that they could even socialize with each other because, again, ravens are very social animals. They need to be able to socialize, they need to be able to interact, they need to be able to warn each other from danger, sort of know where to look for food, know how to look for food. In 2010, there was an unfortunate event here as well, where vandals broke into the cage and let 3 birds free, and one of them returned. The other 2, it's unknown what happened to them. Likely they either died or maybe they just weren't able to return back to the sanctuary. Since then, the land has changed hands, and there were 3 ravens at one point. Now there's only 1, and his name is Klim. He's right behind us, this little guy, and he's kind of shy, doesn't really like people approaching him, unless they're obviously feeding him. So that's kind of how it is. The first reason why there's so many crows in Ukraine is loss of pigeons, and it's kind of a sad thing, but pigeons end up dying eventually, and they leave a carcass around. And since Ukrainians aren't very good at cleaning up after themselves, in terms of the authorities aren't good at cleaning up, you have a lot of dead pigeons everywhere eventually. And obviously crows. Crows are scavengers. They eat meat, they feed off dead carcasses, and that's what they eat. The number 2 reason why there's a lot of crows is because of the culture. In Ukraine, a lot of babushkas and people think it's completely normal to dump down stale food, stale bread, breadcrumbs like just by the entrance to the house, right by the dumpster. They just dump it all down. Pigeons come down there, and obviously crows also come down. And crows are smart. They're going to come back to where the food is. They're going to come back. They're going to remember. The number 3 reason is of the Corvidae family, the crow family essentially, are native only to Europe. For example, the rook. They're only native to Europe and Asia. And obviously, it's going to look like more crows are around because there are more species of crows around. The number 4 reason is really garbage. There's a lot of garbage around. You have a lot of dumpsters that are uncovered. So you have people that live in apartments all over Ukraine. They will take out the garbage into a dumpster. And the dumpster is uncovered. The garbage is collected every week, but that whole week is going to be overflowing. Or if it's overflowing, people are going to put stuff on the ground. And obviously, crows are going to come down and they're going to peck at it. They're going to eat it. So that's another reason. And like I said, ravens are smart. They're territorial. They stick to one area and they will know what to look for, especially if the garbage is in the same place and there's lots of it coming down every single day.